The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News is brought to you by Flow.
Leading the way in election coverage. Hot 7 TV. Election Central.
Tonight, King's closest confidant comes to his defense in her first sit-down interview on politics. Guy Joseph takes aim at those who are endorsing Stephenson King, and the Chamber of Commerce alarmed by a spate of armed robberies targeting businesses. That and more coming up.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Lovelace and Amy Joseph.
Good night. It is Tuesday, the 20th of July, 2021. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. I'm Lovely St. Amy Joseph. Thank you for joining us. They say charity begins at home, and so while over the past few days Stephenson King has received some notable endorsements from Dr. Claudius Sprayville and Alison Jean, on Tuesday he received an endorsement from someone who is the closest to his heart.
God is carrying us through this, and with God on our side, we have absolutely nothing to fear. The Bible 365 times says, do not be afraid. Stephenson King, with his wife by his side, we are not afraid. We will be victorious, and Steve is going to start a movement.
Rosella King is the wife of former Prime Minister, former UWP Minister, and now independent candidate for Castries North, Stephenson King. Throughout her 12 years of marriage to the seasoned politician, Rosella King has never been one to speak on politics. By her own admission, she has always viewed her role as one of a quiet supporter. So what has prompted her to break her silence and comment on this election campaign? She says the many accusations being leveled at her husband will not go unchallenged.
Because over the past 5 or so years, I really saw what he was going through. I saw a man who was suffering in silence. I saw a man who was publicly being disrespected. I saw a man who was hurting, and I think he had to do what he did to free himself from the clutches of some of the persons in the party. So hence I came out. I always felt that he was a politician and I was the strong wife behind him, but I had to come out now to make my feelings clear and to give my personal endorsement to him.
She believes the campaign has taken a nasty turn, with people being paid to smear her husband's name.
The first one was when some person under some fake pseudonym started calling my husband child molester, an adulterer, and I was like, wow, where are these things coming from? And only when it was traced, the person who was calling my husband all of these names is how would I call it, an arsonist, somebody who has done so much, and people know who he is. You understand? So I couldn't understand how, people can be contracted to just spew lies and dirt on somebody who is none of the above.
Members of the United Workers' Party have called on voters in Castries North not to be fooled by King's announced independent run. The UWP maintains that secret deals have been made with the SLP. The evidence, they say, is the St. Lucia Labour Party's decision not to field a candidate for the Castries North seat. Stephenson King's closest confidant, Rosella King, rubbishes these claims. She says constituents can trust what her husband has said.
This is an independent run. My husband divorced himself from the United Workers' Party. He came out publicly to say to Philip Pierre and the SLP that he is not a member of the SLP. My husband is doing this as a true patriot to the people of St. Lucia. He is independent, devoid of any of the three parties that are going up for this election now.
Some have questioned King's own integrity, given his admission that corruption was sanctioned in the UWP cabinet. Many question why he did not speak out sooner, and whether his independent run is truly in the interest of the country or to settle his own political score against Alan Shastney, who replaced him as UWP party leader in 2013.
What I do know is that he tried his best. He tried to have meetings with the leadership of the party, and he was always sidelined. Nobody wanted to listen to him. He was the lone voice in cabinet. I can safely say that. There were times on Mondays when he came from cabinet and he was like, "My wife, Rosella, I do not know how much longer I can take this. I am the lone voice in cabinet. I have no support. If I stand up and I say, guys, this is wrong, let us look at it a different way, nobody listens to me." He did not breach his contract to the people of CASTRIES North for the 5 years. He certainly waited. He suffered in silence, like I said before. And he waited until his 5-year contract was up. And then he decided, okay, I'm going to break my ranks, because he had the interest of the people at heart.
Rosella King says her husband's record in his constituency is unmatched and that he has proven himself a man of the people. As for the UWP's candidate, Janine Jrody McIntyre, Rosella King says she has no knowledge of her ever showing an interest in the CASTRIES North constituency.
I have never known her to be in any activity in CASTRIES North until she declared herself as a candidate for that constituency. As a matter of fact, like I said, my husband and I have always worshipped at Our Lady of Fatima Church in Leclerc. And for the first time in 20-something years since we have been worshipping there, last Sunday she came to worship there. That is the very first time we had ever seen her in Leclerc Church.
Rosella King says she has no doubt that her husband will be victorious come Monday's general election. Throughout it all, she says she will be resolute at his side. At the UWP manifesto launch, candidate for CASTRIES Southeast Guy Joseph came out with guns blazing. His targets, the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party and those who have endorsed Stephenson King as an independent candidate for CASTRIES North. Guy Joseph said there is no leadership to be found on the side of the opposition SLP or those with whom it conspires. Karim Nelson has more.
An election season never lacks a war of words, and the UWP's manifesto launch on Monday, 20th July, certainly delivered the expected mépris, as we say. UWP candidate for CASTRIES Southeast, Guy Joseph, mounted a defense of his party and held nothing back. Joseph took aim and fired at Stephenson King, questioning the quality of people who have chosen to endorse King.
Look at the persons endorsing Stephenson King today. Baldas Raymond, Rufus Busquet, Richard Frederick. I mean, something must be wrong with the St. Lucia Labour Party. And I want you to understand that it is your vote that they need. It is your vote that is in play. And so, I stand with Sister Sarah tonight. We need to teach them a lesson in Central CASTRIES that they will never forget in the history of the politics of St. Lucia.
Taking advantage of the platform, Joseph also launched a scathing barrage of criticism against the St. Lucia Labour Party. He says that forgetful and incompetent people should not be allowed to govern the country.
Philip J. Pierre. And he wants to be, so he forgot his documents on nomination day. So if you send him, and you know it's the habit of forgetting. They forget briefcase. They forget document. They forget that a JP or a lawyer would have to sign their document to go and nominate. But they want to represent you. These are the kinds of persons who you want to represent you. I know St. Lucia will not make that mistake.
The general election is now 6 days away, and this election season has surely been one filled with political intrigue and political theatre. but come Monday, it will be which side has been able to resonate with the people. Karim Nelson, Hot 7 TV, Election Central.
Over the past few days, the business community has been the target of armed robberies. The Chamber of Commerce and the Royal St. Lucia Police Force are collaborating to arrest the spate of crimes. The director of the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce calls on business owners to put initiatives in place to safeguard their establishments. Genevieve Gonzague reports.
The Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture has registered a great level of concern about the number of armed robberies which continue to take place at various business institutions. On Thursday, Builder's Choice in Lafargue was robbed of $16,000 worth of cash and other items. On Friday, an armed robbery took place at Tiles Plus at Lance Road, Castries. Two masked men, one brandishing a gun, stormed into the business house demanding cash and relieving employees of their personal effects. And on Saturday, a pair of gun-wielding bandits robbed the Dr. Fraser's branch on High Street, Castries, making off with cash. The executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, Brian LOUISY, says the business community must be on guard and implement measures that will deter bandits from targeting their businesses.
Those who are cash intensive to use drop deposits, so there's limited cash at any one time on property and not accessible, to make their deposits on a regular basis, or not on an irregular basis but frequently. Don't set up any pattern for that. To place some barriers between the customers and the persons who are collecting cash, see if they could secure it, use bulletproof glass, ensure that there's a lock system so that there's a separation so that people cannot access the cash. We've also suggested that people insure cash on premises so that they can mitigate their losses. And a few other things that we have proposed. We have suggested that they recruit private security if needs be, and we are also asking them to avail themselves of training which is the Royal St. Lucia Police Force has offered, so that they can become more security conscious, they can put more measures in place.
LOUISY explained that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force is collaborating with the Chamber and is committed to providing advice and assistance to the business community. LOUISY, however, believes that such criminal issues have to be dealt with from a social standpoint if they are to be totally eradicated.
When the police are putting measures in place, it really doesn't make sense to go and publicize them, but rather we are confident that the police will increase patrols at a minimum and will put measures in place to try to arrest this difficult situation. You do not want to be saying that our country is one where we must have all the highest levels of security and what have you. I think we need to tackle the root cause of the problem, and this is just preventative and mitigation measures. And I am certain that business persons who have noticed what is going on are taking steps, putting measures in place to mitigate and lessen the risk involved.
The Royal St. Lucia Police Force, for its part, says it is aware of the increase in armed robberies and measures will be implemented to clamp down on these crimes. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzague.
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. Still to come, the UWP responds to a published letter by singer Mighty Gabby. Members of the public respond to party manifesto launches. And Leonard Montoud continues to take aim at Stephenson King. That and more after the break.
The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News was brought to you by Flow.